Hello everyone, Jim Crawford here, Tabor EMC, and I'm out on this beautiful day, out in the woods. You can see the forest behind me. I've got old Blue here. Took old Blue out, had to stretch his legs. He's been cooped up in that driveway, so he's got to get out the same as the rest of us. You know, we tend to, as we get older, get all stiff. We've got to get out and limber up, loosen up. And so I had to take old Blue out. Old Blue is a 1996 Chevy Silverado, 4x4, loaded, power windows, power seats, air conditioning, all that kind of stuff. What a nice truck. Everywhere I go, people want to buy old Blue. Getting gas yesterday. Guy come walking up to me and he says, old Blue for sale. I says, no, he's not for sale. He says, well, do you know where I can get one like that? I said, you can't replace old Blue. There isn't old Blues sitting around any old wares. You can't go to 7-Eleven and pick up an old Blue. Old Blue reminds me of something. It's a Bible verse in the book of Leviticus. Chapter 19, it says, you shall rise in the presence of the gray head and honor the old man. Rise in the presence of the gray head and honor the old man. And that term old man is not a derogatory term, a term of respect. It's a term of respect, the old man. My dad, he was a hardworking man. Back in the 60s and 70s, he raised a family. He had some difficulties in business, and so as a result, he didn't leave the family. He worked and he raised a family. He'd come home late at night after working long hours. We were already done supper, and he'd sit at the table and he'd eat by himself, and then he'd come into the living room, and he had treated himself to a reclining armchair so that at the end of a long day of work, he would come and he would just relax. Well, he would walk into the room, and if any of us were sitting in his chair, we just automatically stood up. There were no words. We just rose when he walked into the room. A sign of respect. And you know, that term, or that Bible verse, rise in the presence of the gray head and honor the old man. It speaks of things like perseverance, resilience, determination, hardiness. I could say that about my dad. He was very determined. He raised a family in difficult times. Well, you know, in these times that we have today, we can't interact, we can't visit with family, we can't meet in church, and all these kinds of things. Well, you know, there's a term that I use when somebody asks me how I'm doing. I say 100%. And I've used that many, many times when somebody asks me, and I've seen people's heads turn as soon as they hear it. I go to a store and I'm at the counter, and there the clerk will say, how are you doing? And it's almost like it's obligation. It's like they kind of say, how are you doing? And I say 100%, and they pick their head up and they, whoa. One time I'm checking into a hotel room, and I get up to the counter, and the clerk asks how I'm doing. I say 100%. Well, there's a guy who's in a lineup for another clerk, and he goes, whoa, that's pretty good. So anyway, get checked in, and this other guy, he gets checked in, and he's going into the elevator, and somebody is in there that knows him, I guess, and he says, how are you doing? The guy says 100%. So it just sort of rubs off. And It's quite a it's quite a head turner. But I didn't make that term up. I didn't invent that. There is a man 35 years ago I met. His name was Vern. And Vern, every time you say to him, "How are you doing?" he'd say 100%. But the thing about Vern is that he was 100%. Vern was full of joy. You couldn't help being joyful when you're around Vern. As soon as he walks into the room, it's like, "Whoa, there's Vern," and comes with joy. We used to go to the coffee shop. My wife and I had a business back then, and we worked together in that business. And Vern would come by our shop, and we'd go out for coffee. Sometimes we were gone all afternoon. I'd leave my wife behind. She's doing the work, and I'm doing the coffeeing. But I'd come back and she'd be so excited to find out what did we talk about. You see, being with Vern, he saw a young guy, a young Christian, and he would take this young Christian and we would just spend time together, talking and visiting. And his wife, Lila, she was so hospitable. They had us into their home so many times where we would be visiting, fellowshipping, playing games, laughing, staying up late. All these things. You know, it was such a great time with Vern. Well, here's Vern. It's not like he didn't have some struggles in his life. It's not like everything was always rosy for him. It's not like he didn't have some trial. It's not like he didn't have tragedy in his life. But he was 100%. Because it wasn't based upon his circumstance. It wasn't based upon, trial here and trial there. But it was based upon the Lord. He was 100% because of what God had done. How God had taken him, who he acknowledged was dead in trespasses and sins, the Bible says. The Lord saved him. Vern, he just loved serving people. So I was thinking on this verse in Leviticus, "Rise in the presence of the gray head and honor the old man." Well, Vern is 30 years my senior, and he lives out in the West Coast now. I haven't seen him in a long time, many years. So I phoned him this week just to chat. I wanted to tell him I'm doing these videos, and as I was thinking, I thought, well, you know what? I got to tell a story about Vern, because Vern was very instrumental in my life. And so I called him to tell him how I appreciated him and how much he was so instrumental in my life as a young Christian. Well, Vern, he's not a guy to take compliments very well. He's a guy that gives them. He's a guy that always gives. He doesn't take much. But we had a great time talking on the phone and telling stories. And he told me the story about the time he borrowed my truck back in, 1985 or something like that. And he lost the spare tire out of it. I couldn't remember that, but we had some laughs. Catching up. Today, what we can do is we can make a phone call. There's people that are shut in. There's people that are having some trial and struggles today. There's people that aren't able to see their family, not able to go to work, concerned about the events. Well, you know what we can do is we can give them a phone call, and we can share with them wonderful promises from God. And I'm going to share one with you here. It's in the book of 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Verse 16, it says, "Therefore we do not lose heart. Even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day." See, the outward man is perishing. The outward man's getting older. The outward man is failing, but the inward man is being renewed. As we walk with the Lord, and as we spend time with the Lord, as we spend time in His Word, as we spend time with others, serving others, we're getting a renewal. something new. And here's something else it says. It says, therefore we do not lose heart. We don't lose heart. It's not about our circumstance. Even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Oh, our light affliction, the Bible says, because it's just for a moment. When we look at things in light of all of eternity, it's just for a moment. You know, we can get on the phone and we can call someone. There was a day before cell phones, I had like 50 phone numbers in this little brain of mine. I don't have any anymore. I can't hardly even remember my own phone number, even though I probably don't phone myself as much as I should. We can call somebody. We can get on the phone and we can encourage them with something. We can encourage them with the promises of God. Eye has not seen, nor ear has heard, nor has entered into the heart of man the things which God has prepared for those who love him. Well, what a great promise that is. So you can get on the phone today and you can call somebody that you know. And you can say, how are you doing? And they'll ask you, how are you doing? And you can say, 100%. You know, Old Blue here isn't going to be around forever. But Old Blue has had longevity, perseverance, reliability. That's what we need to have today. In these days we live in, we need to have that perseverance. We need to be standing strong. We need to be ones who are not going to get down because of the circumstance, but we're going to be ones who have a message of hope, a message of light, and something that's going to encourage people. So even though we can't meet, even though we can't get together, we can phone. We can get on the phone and we can encourage somebody. I encourage you with that today. So I want to just leave that with you, and may the Lord bless you.